As we continue to look at the gifts of the Holy Spirit, today we direct our attention to the gift of fortitude. Now, St. Thomas Aquinas says that fortitude is the gift that allows us to overcome fear. To tell the story of a woman who went to visit her neighbor who had a very ferocious-looking dog. And as she approached the door, the dog began to bark wildly. But the neighbor said to her, "Oh, come on in, Alice. Don't be afraid of my dog. You know the old proverb, a barking dog never bites." And Alice said, "Yes, I know the proverb, and you know the proverb. But does your dog know the proverb?" You know, folks, we might not be afraid of a barking dog, but we are afraid of getting sick. We're afraid that a loved one will get sick. If you ever had to wait by a phone, waiting for the doctor to call with the results of a medical test or biopsy, you know what fear is. Even people who have had cancer and who are in remission live in fear. They live in fear from one test to another, waiting to see if their cancer has returned. And we're afraid of other things. We're afraid of losing our job. We're afraid that a loved one might get into trouble. We're afraid of getting into an automobile accident. We are certainly afraid that a loved one will die. The list of our fears goes on and on. A man tells this story. He was in a hurry taking his 8-year-old son to school, and he made a turn at a red light that specifically had the sign, "No turn on red." And he turned to his son and he says, "Uh-oh, I just made an illegal turn." And his son said, "Oh, Dad, don't worry, it's okay. The police car behind us just did the same thing." You know, folks, people often say to us, don't worry. But we do, don't we? The poor dad really did have something to worry about. And at times we do too. We are worried and anxious about the things that I just mentioned. 6-year-old Michelle had a new baby brother. And her teacher said, "I hear you have a new member in your family." And the girl said, "Oh, yeah." The teacher said, "What's the matter, Michelle? Aren't you happy to have a new baby brother?" And she said, "I guess so, but there were a lot of other things that we needed more." You know what? I often say there is nothing we need more than peace of mind and heart, especially in the midst of our worries and our fears. You know, sometimes people ask me, do I have favorite stories? I do. I'd like to share one with you now. It is the story about the town drunkard who was staggering along the street, clutching a newspaper in his hand when he ran into the parish priest, whom he greeted very politely. And the priest was annoyed, knowing that the man was slightly inebriated, and so he ignored him. But the man said, "Hey, excuse me, Father, could you tell me what causes arthritis?" And the priest ignored that too. But when the man repeated the question, the priest lost his patience, and he said, "Okay, look." He said, "Do you want to know what causes arthritis? I'll tell you what causes arthritis. Drinking causes arthritis. Gambling causes arthritis. Running after loose women causes arthritis." Then he paused and said, well, why do you ask?" And the man held out the newspaper and he said, "Because it says right here, Father, that's what the Pope has." Hey, folks, I don't know what causes arthritis. I don't know what causes cancer. I don't know why people get arthritis or cancer. I don't know why loved ones die. I don't know why people suffer and carry a cross. And whenever they ask me why, I say, I don't know. The only thing I know is that when we are suffering, we are not alone. Jesus and our Blessed Mother are with us. To tell the story here, they say, is true, of a man who phoned the local hospital, and he was frantic. And he yelled, "You've got to send help, you've got to send help. My wife is in labor." And the nurse who got the call said, "Calm down, sir, calm down. Is this her first child?" And he replied, "No, this is her husband." Okay, it's a terrible story, all right? All right. But you know, as we come here with our problems and our worries and our fears, you know what we have to do? We have to phone Mary, so to speak. We have to call her in prayer and ask for her help. And I think that if we listen carefully enough, we will hear her say to us, calm down, I'll take care of you. You know, the only effective antidote for fear and anxiety is faith. Over the door of a hotel in England is the inscription, "Fear knocked at the door. Faith went to answer it. But when it opened the door, no one was there." You see, the meaning, of course, is that the remedy for fear is faith. If one has faith and trust in the Lord, there's no reason to fear anything or anyone. As a spiritual writer once said, our only protection against fear is faith. My friends, it is the gift of fortitude that gives us the faith which will enable us to face our worries and fears and courage. You know, in the Broadway play and musical, The King and I, Anna sings the delightful song, "Whenever I am afraid." Whenever I am afraid, I hold my head erect and whistle a happy tune so no one will suspect I'm afraid. I'll spare you the agony, I don't sing the rest. But you know what? Like Anne, the writer of the Psalms recognized his fears. But to put it very simply, he sang, "Whenever I am afraid, I will trust in you, O Lord." Folks, it is this trust in the Lord that gave him growing confidence, because later on he would say, "I will not fear. I will not be afraid." Let me tell you that when I am afraid, I do not whistle a happy tune. I turn to Mary, our Blessed Mother. She has always, always been with me, especially in times of difficulty, suffering. And I know that she is with me to take care of me. You know, the gift of fortitude allows us, when we are afraid, to whistle the tune of the psalmist. It allows us to place our full trust in Jesus and our Blessed Mother. Let's continue our Mass. And when we leave here today, please, let us try to leave here with a little more peace of mind and heart in the midst of our fears and worries. Let us beg Mary to ask the Holy Spirit to help us to fill our hearts with peace, to help us to have more trust in God, to give us the gift of fortitude.